If you are able to see.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, just prepared some basic PPT. It may or may not look good. So my understanding until this point, whatever we discussed, I have included everything in the PPT. So but index.js is the entry point for the React application. Of course, we have the index.html just to hold the root element ID, which is nothing but div ID equal to root. But the main entry point would be index.js. This is the first understanding of this is my first understanding when it comes to invoking
That's
the
right. And that is the entry point, you
React.
can say.
Entry point, yes. So index.js, once it finds the root element, what it does is it goes into the HTML, executes it, and then here what is happening is we have this render method, right? React dom.render. So in that where we have included app and document element by root ID. So after identifying the component, what it does is it will go to the corresponding app component, and in that app component the app component is called the root component. So what we have in our application, at least specific to our application, is couple of imports like React library, Redux library, and other few more details. And one important thing I noticed when it comes to app component is we have something called browser router. What I got to know is that it is one of the kinds of React routers. So what it does is it has simple browser router tag, inside which we have something called routes, where we configure our the different pages, or the corresponding pages for different components with the logical path, file path. Not the complete file path, but just the logical path up to the application. So that is how we, whenever we are moving to a different component, what happens is the control will come to the app component. It identifies the specific component and the respective page, like for example login page or registration page or any other pages, and then it goes to the corresponding component of the corresponding page, respectively.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when
Let me add a little bit to that.
sure.
So, what React does is, see, the browser has its DOM, document object model,
Correct.
right? So, which is managed by the browser's engine,
Mm,
right? Now, what React does is, React has its own React DOM, document object model.
mm,
So, first it whatever operation it does through its React actions, right? So
mm.
it updates that React DOM, not the original DOM of the browser.
Correct.
Okay, and then once everything is done, then it changes the status and it renders together.
Okay, that is the reason why React is called virtual DOM model.
Exactly. So it is like a virtual machine, you can think, or a RAM. So like in the operate we do in Java, we have a
Mm,
virtual
mm,
machine, right?
mm.
So any operations we are doing in a virtual machine. But if you want to do a permanent write to a file or database, so that is the where you do a persistency,
Mm.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Yeah. So in the same way, what I explained, when we encounter the registration page, when we are hitting the registration page in the UI, what happens is in the app component, like I mentioned, we will have routes where we have configured the registration page. The control will go to that registration page where we have the header and footer and the imports for the registration components and other libraries like React Strap or React Bootstrap, Axios, etc. These libraries, they provide various facilities like buttons, form groups, form fields, etc. Based on our requirement, we kind of import those. And one important thing I observed in React is component did mount. This is a life cycle method, as I mentioned here. The moment a component is called, this component did mount will come into picture. And yeah, after that,
The moment component is called, first constructor is called, then lifecycle methods are called, right?
component did mount itself is a lifecycle method. That is what I'm saying.
Correct. First constructor will be called, then lifecycle methods are called. Or is it opposite way? Which one is correct way?
Constructor, because constructor is going to create the object.
Okay.
I mean, it is going to be initialized first.
Mm.
And that happens first time, right?
Okay.
Constructor, like, when you create a Java object,
constructor
yes, is called only once when you're creating the object. But next time onwards, when you do, like if you have seen in the unit test, you have a initialize method, init method.
Correct.
And then you have, like, in the middle you can do some triggers, and then you have a method when you shut down, that time it will be called. The same way, like you have a constructor, then did mount is there. Also, when you your application loading is done, then also there are respective methods which can be.
Okay, so after the constructor is called, and once the object for that component is created, then component did mount lifecycle method is called. Okay.
Hello. क्या की? मैं मीटिंग में हूँ. Any मतलब? क्या मतलब?
Venu, కాదురా హలో
చెప్పరా.
సో కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ కాల్ చేసి ఏం చేస్తుంది, ఆబ్జెక్ట్ మనం స్పెసిఫై చేసిన సూపర్ డాట్ సంథింగ్ డిస్ యూజ్ చేసి ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేస్తుంది,
వేరియబుల్స్ ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేస్తుంది. తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఒక్కసారి కాల్ అవుతుంది, కానీ లైఫ్ సైకిల్ మెథడ్స్ ప్రతిసారి ఇప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ టైం రెండర్ అవుతుంది, సెకండ్ టైం రెండర్ చేసినప్పుడు కూడా లైఫ్ సైకిల్ మెథడ్స్ కాల్ అవుతాయి. రెండర్ ని 2-3 సార్లు కూడా రెండర్ చేయొచ్చు. రీరెండర్ అంటే మళ్ళీ రెండోసారి లోడ్ అవుతుంది. ఇప్పుడు రెండర్ మెథడ్ ఉంది కదా,
అర్థమైంది. రీరెండర్ అవ్వచ్చు, ఎన్నిసార్లు అవ్వచ్చు.
రీరెండర్ అయినప్పుడల్లా లైఫ్ సైకిల్ మెథడ్స్ ట్రిగ్గర్ అవుతాయి.
బట్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అనేది ఒక్కసారే క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది, అంతేనా?
అదే చెప్తున్నారు.
ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు కరెక్టే కదా, చేంజ్ చేసాలే. సో ఇప్పుడు డిడ్ మౌంట్ ఓకే, ఇంకా రియాక్ట్ ప్రాప్స్ ఏం చేస్తాయి? చెప్పలేదు, తీసేయమంటే తీసేస్తా.
తీసే, అది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్, నువ్వు రాయద్దు సొంతం.
Yeah, I am back. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so I modified that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So after the constructor is created, after the constructor creates the object for that specific component, what happens is the component did mount lifecycle method is called, and then we have the render method. Inside the render method, we invoke the components registration. In our case, we are invoking the registration component. So when it comes to registration component, what I understood is we are using some properties files to store our endpoints and the API properties, so that we can form the APIs dynamically based on the requested URL or requested data. And along with that, we have these import libraries like ReactStrap, React Bootstrap, Axios, React Font Awesome. I did not. We don't know what is React Font Awesome. It might be related to some font, but we don't know exactly. So after the constructor, we have set of methods, functions, not methods, like on radio change, on toggle change, service provider or consumer, trainer, these kind of things. And along with this, like any other page, we have certain form fields like text fields or email fields, password field, etc. for our registration. And inside the render method, the main advantage we get is we can use that JSX kind of coding structure where we can use HTML or JavaScript code in in an interchangeable fashion. Hello, Venu. No problem. So this is what I mean. So inside the render, we can use HTML code or JavaScript kind of code, but not
in the render
without any
method,
structure.
in the render method, basically we have a form there where we have that form method and form submit is there. For form submit, there is a separate action event is there, and then for each and every input box and radio button, there is a separate actions was there, and corresponding validations we are doing through in a separate closure form, actually, say like lambda.
Lambdas.
Yeah.
So actually what is happening is render method is something which is finally going to render your HTML content,
Okay.
which will come to the browser. Now outside the render method, you have all other JavaScript methods and functions.
Mm.
Okay. Now, but inside the render method again, like as a part of JSX, right? You can define your own JavaScript code or with a normal like a scriptlet kind of thing, and also you can control all your HTML contents how they need to be formed.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see inside the render method, also we are declaring or we are having JavaScript logics and all. And then through that JavaScript logic, you can still manipulate your HTML content, and finally you prepare your HTML content inside the render method and then send it back to the browser. So that is the advantage which ReactJS is giving, and those manipulations when it is giving doing inside the render method, that is handled with the React libraries. So during that handling, it is using that React DOM, and inside the React DOM, all those operations are happening. Once the entire thing is prepared, data is ready, then finally it renders or sends back the HTML content to the browser.
Okay.
Clear.
Yeah.
It made sense, or
I need to. Can you please, repeat the last thing you told about render method?
yeah, inside the render method, if you why don't you open one method for the registration component? Okay, so see what is happening. Yeah, outside the render method, all those you have like a normal JavaScript functions and methods, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Now go to the. So these all methods will be called with some JavaScript actions, form actions, right? Now those forms or actions all get defined inside the this render method. So here it is like a lambda function. You are saying return. You don't have a name. Okay. Within that you are building all this content. Now,
Okay.
if you see the comment section in the line number 439, that itself is like a scriptlet. See, within a HTML code, you are writing kind of a scriptlet or JavaScript code where you can do some JavaScript operation.
Okay.
Like JSP's scriptlet. Okay. Now come down a little bit more. Now, if you see the width, okay, width is defined, within curly bracket, right? So those they can assume some variables also.
Mm-hmm.
To show further, come down a little bit more. Let me see if we have a good one to show as an example. Yeah, see within the on submit, right? In normal HTML, what happens is you basically call that method directly. Don't give any curly bracket and all, right? In the normal HTML, but here it is using that method and using this keyword. So this keyword will be the current object which is created during the creation of the component.
Component. Yeah.
Right. So these all operations, whatever is being happening, this will happen within the React DOM.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So once these operations are completed, then finally the data will be rendered. Come down further. If there is any logic, I will show you.
I did not see any big logic in this.
It's not there. Can you open the login component? Login component will have. From there. It's not there. Yeah, I think it is there in the upcoming other component where we are manipulating the data and we should. So we will see that in our upcoming classes how
Okay.
it's are being shown.
Okay.
Okay, you can proceed.
Yeah. And yeah, that's all. I mean, this is what is our understanding till now.
Yeah, and maybe if you want to tell something about the API integration part, how you are forming, what are the libraries you are using
Yeah.
for integrating.
So for API integration, we are using Axios
Axios.
library. So what we will do is axios.post. Either different method, we can use different methods over there. Axios.post or put.delete. So inside we'll be having two kinds of methods. URL, two parameters. One is URL and one is the payload. So once it may return either success or failure. Based on the success and failure, we can handle the things accordingly.
Right.
So once after form submit, we will prepare the payload and call the Axios. From Axios, we will send it to the backend. From backend, we will receive those things and do processing.
Yeah. So just to give a little more background, there is one more called fetch. Okay. And Axios, does better than fetch, and it has more capabilities. So here you just seeing that passing just two parameters and using it, but it has many other things which can be handled. Okay.
Okay.
Axios. That is one thing. So you need to explore other capabilities of
What is
Axios
that?
as well.
Axios.fetch is it?
Fetch is different.
Fetch is different.
Fetch is
instead of Axios, you can use fetch.
Axios is one framework for handling the integration part, but fetch is something alternative.
Okay, fetch is one more library which is having more flexibility than Axios.
No, Axios is better than fetch.
Axios is better than fetch. Fetch is little older.
Okay, got it.
So now the underlying technology is still same, that Ajax, right? So in old days we used to write raw code using Ajax, which you directly called HTML, XML HTTP call, and we used to handle all errors, all exception conditions, and all. But Axios does those of its own. I mean, it provides all those libraries so that user-friendly manners we can handle all.
Okay, without manually handling all those, so we can simply provide the details.
Right.
Do we have any form submits here, or it's through only event, like through Axios only, which is sending to backend? Like JS, do we have any form submits here?
Yeah, I mean, it is a form submit is nothing but on click of a form submit, it calls a method. Now inside that method, you define these all JavaScript operations.
Okay, not like JSP form submit, like whole page is submitted. Okay.
In JSP,
everything is action based
submit,
event.
what it happens, it basically calls that action class, controller class, and then it directly, I mean, that is the default class which it calls, and it goes to the servlet. Right. But here it is not.
So in microservice based architecture also, we can have any number of Axios call on a single component, or how is it?
Yes. So that is where your complexity will come for the parallelism. Okay. So there is a concept for to handle this parallelism, right? And you need to learn about promise.
Okay.
So let me check if
Correct.
If session.
There is no, actually what happens is, I know that how promise works. There is no guarantee of sequential execution. So that is the reason why we use the promise. Correct.
Right. So in JavaScript, calls are happening, asynchronously. They are not line by line call. I mean, those are happening asynchronously. But if you want to synchronize those, then you have to use your promise. And using promise, you can synchronize, and also only part of calls or multiple calls which you want them to run parallelly, you can do that. So in Java, all thread concepts which we are achieving for parallel calls and synchronization, all those things can be achieved using promise.
So earlier we are using callback methods, right? Now we are
Right.
going with promise method.
Yeah, we used to have a callback method. Now using promise in a single line of code, it handles. So in the backend, it uses callback method, but from a user point of view, we just write one line of code which does all those work. So we will explore promise, and we will do some exercises on those later on. Okay. Yeah. Move on.
For now, yeah, that's all, Manoranjan. This is what
Okay.
I mean, here we stopped here, I guess, in the last session, right? We know.
Yeah. We analyze this class by this class code from the class.
Okay, good. So we have Next.js, which is a good way of doing ReactJS development. Okay, so maybe in our next session, we can walk through or explore Next.js.
Okay.